Now, next we turn to a less serious topic, something that we hope you'll be able to enjoy during this time of great chaos and confusion. And we're just going to be doing a speed round on a few things that we've been thinking about and that have been keeping us sane during this time. So first, we will be going around and naming a joke, a sports joke that we heard recently that we thought was particularly funny and we thought that you, our audience, would want to hear. Let's jump to Justin.
What do you call a group of millionaires sitting around a TV watching the NBA Finals? The Portland Trailblazers. Boom, roasted.
Oh, okay.
Wow. So we're going hard today like that. Okay. Dylan, what do you got?
Well, mine isn't nearly as offensive and, arrogant almost as Justin's. Why should you never date a tennis player? Because love means nothing to them.
Wow. That's cold.
Tragic.
Okay, well, I'm going to finish it off. I decided that the audience might want something a little more substantive, so I'm bringing out a bit of a story joke here. Let's hope that it hits right. Okay, Julia began her job in a secondary school as a counselor, and she was keen to help the pupils. Education was always a goal of hers. And one day during break time, she noticed a girl standing all by herself on one side of the playing field. And that seemed like a problem to her because all of the rest of the children were playing a game of soccer at the end of the other field. So Julia, being the kind woman she was, she decided to approach the girl and see if she was all right. And mind you, this was Julia's first day in the job, so it was really important to make sure that she developed connections with all of her new pupils. So the girl said she was fine, but sometime later, Julia noticed the girl was in exactly the same spot, still by herself. And so Julia decided to go on up back to her, and she inquired again, "Would you like me to be your friend?" Just trying to offer a hand of support. The girl hesitated, however, and said all right, but it was clear that she was a little bit confused. Anyway, Julia felt like she was making progress, and she asked, "Why are you standing here all alone?" The girl said with a sigh, "Because I'm the goalie."
Mm-hmm.
Hilarious, I know. Don't we love a good sports joke? I mean, a good soccer joke.
So good.
Yeah, I'll be accepting donations on my Patreon account later. Thank you. Okay, well, the next portion of the speed round is actually for us to open up to you, our audience, and talk about our varied sports career and some of the moments that maybe were a little less heroic and maybe a little more embarrassing. So, Justin, why don't we start with you again?
So probably the most embarrassing moment of my sports career was my sophomore year at track and field state. I got last place in the long jump, and I was really sad about it. And then later when we're having a team dinner, and my coach Justin came up to me and was like, "Oh, Justin, how did the long jump go?" in front of everybody, and I had to say, "Oh, I got last place," in front of the whole team. It was really awesome.
Well,
Happens
at least you made everyone else on your team feel better about themselves, right? So there's always, some positive to every situation.
I was trying to help everybody else. I'll kick it to Dylan.
All right. So, being the stellar athlete that I am, I don't have a ton of embarrassing moments. But one that, really was almost a safety issue was in 7th grade during club soccer practice. I went to kick a ball and I poked it and then whiffed, and I fell and hit my head in front of the whole team and got a concussion.
Ooh.
And the girls were watching us as well, and they started laughing at me.
I'm sorry.
It's amazing that you've still made yourself into the man you are today. Congratulations on that good comeback story.
I appreciate that. I'm still emotionally recovering, though.
And we're here to support you.
Casey.
Now, just to quickly make a bit of a boardwalk to your story, or a bridge to your story, I actually once concussed myself while playing basketball with myself. I shot the ball, went off the rim, and hit me in the head. Not my brightest moment. But anyway, that wasn't really as embarrassing because I wasn't with anyone. So, I just got concussed and then, lied around on the floor for a while. But anyway, I'd say that the most embarrassing moment was probably in either the quarterfinals or the semifinals of a soccer game back in the old middle school.
Ooh.
And I traditionally play out in the field, but true to myself, I was injured like I always am. And so I was playing goalie instead because for some reason we didn't have a goalie, or maybe they were injured too. And, I fancy myself as a good goalie. I'm able to sort of jump down there, be dexterous about it, save a lot of different shots. But it turns out that I didn't really understand the flow of play. So I ended up letting in like 4 or 5 goals in the first half. And that kind of loses it for your whole team. So definitely not my brightest moment.
Oh,
yeah.
Great. It's like, once I let in 4 goals in one half against OES to then allow them to tie the game 4-4.
I remember this.
Justin.
Yeah. My reputation has been irreparably harmed. Anyway.
Heard about it.
Okay. Well, we're going to end this speed round, and we did say it would be speedy, with a final segment where we're going to be each sharing one controversial sports opinion that we hold and that we're willing to argue right now.
I'd like to take the reins here. My controversial, maybe non-controversial sports opinion is that the Philadelphia 76ers will never make it out of the second round with their current roster. Or one could say they're very overrated. And I say this mainly because they lost Jimmy Butler and J.J. Redick over the summer, who I thought were 2 pieces that really held their team together, as well as I personally just don't believe that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid can coexist on a team together. I think that their flashiness and their kind of their reputation among the league makes everybody kind of like them and have high expectations for them. But, overall, I think this is a team that is losing ground, losing players in an Eastern Conference that's really evolving and becoming better and better. Once Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are healthy, the next team will be lethal. This 76ers team just didn't prove themselves against some of the top teams in the East, and I really don't think that they have what it takes, the coaching or the players, to really make a deep run into the playoffs.
I think the 76ers could make it past the second round of the playoffs because if you look at the other teams in the East, it's pretty wide open. And the current talent level, just from the current talent they have on their roster is very high. Al Horford, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and they have some pretty good shooters in Korkmaz and Josh Richardson and Alec Burks that may not replace what J.J. Redick and Jimmy Butler brought them, but they are serviceable enough. And I think that if they could just Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid could peacefully coexist for just 4 games, I think they could make any series interesting.
Well, we shall see indeed. Justin, what do you have to say?
I would argue that baseball is the least interesting of the big 4 sports in America. And I'd even argue that track and field and soccer are more interesting to watch than baseball. The thing with baseball is that there's not many dynamic actions happening around. Like with basketball, you got people backdoor cutting, off-ball movement, and then the person with the ball obviously is the most interesting to watch. So you've got so much stuff going on. Football, it's kind of like basketball. You got things happening all over, people running fast, jumping, something you don't see much in baseball. And then hockey, you got people hitting each other. It's great. I love it. You probably love it too. You'll love to see it. And then soccer, it's like the other ones, more dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Also great. And then track, you got something for everybody to watch. You want to watch races, long, short. Want to watch people jump far, throw far, jump high. It's just all around great. And baseball is not.
Justin, I agree 100% completely. Yeah, I mean, I think that a major issue with baseball is that, like, from the start, it was created to be sort of a social experience for people, and there's really no true sporting achievement that you can go for in baseball. It's not about human performance. It's all about the social scene, who attends, who your friends are, that type of thing. There are a lot of scandals involved. It really just is sort of a crapshoot, if I can say.
I would like to step in here. I would say about your friends. First off, most of the people who play baseball are Chris and Ballum, who have to be friends. But I think baseball is America's favorite pastime, and you can't deny that. Baseball is great because people of all shapes and sizes can play. It's a sport for the big boys. The big boys can just step up to the plate and knock home run after home run out of the park. It's a place for, speedy players to, steal bases. It's way more of a dynamic and technical game than you could think. I think the battle between a pitcher and a batter is one of the best battles in sports itself. I think that's more of an intellectual battle than you can really find in any other sport. I think that baseball is really one of the best sports out there.
I think you framed it well. You framed it almost as if you were pitching it for a game show. You said it's a pastime, not a sport, and you said that it's intellectually challenging, kind of like chess is maybe. And I think that also you said that everyone can play it. Well, do we want everyone to be able to play it? I mean, of course, yes, we do in people's backyards, but if everyone can play it, is it really physically challenging? Is it really demanding? I don't think so, and I think that's really why it shouldn't be characterized as a sport at all.
I think I know this argument is used very much, but I'd like to see a lot of players from other sports step up to the plate and try to hit against someone who's throwing a ball 90 miles an hour or someone who's throwing a ball that'll break 5 inches. I think that there's way more skill that really goes into baseball. I think that, yes, everyone can play it, but you need a lot of skill to, it's not that everyone with ranging levels of skill can play it. You need great hand-eye coordination to be able to succeed in baseball.
I'm just going to say Bo Jackson and walk out here. Next, we'll turn to the NFL, and I'm going to argue right now that all plays in the NFL, whether they're scoring plays or not, should be reviewable. Coaches should have the option at their discretion to review any play. And here's the reason why I say this. It's commonly thought that only scoring plays should be reviewed. And, there's a tendency to agree with that viewpoint because those are the plays that put scores on the board. But, from a coaching perspective, what can be more disruptive is if you have momentum in the middle of the field, you're getting a bunch of plays together, and suddenly you're called for offsides or something. But if you feel as the coach that you're confident enough, based off what you saw or based off what your assistant coaches saw up in the booth, that you were not offsides, and you're going to put yourself out in the line by pulling a flag, which if you're wrong, you won't get back, then why shouldn't you be able to do so, to get that option and to it's really in pursuit with fair play. Everyone should be able to put their heart and soul out into the field, and that's what coaches would be doing with their decision too. So I just think it would give teams more discretion and teams more control over their own progression and what they're doing in the field.
That's definitely the case even in basketball as well. I don't know if I've ever been angrier in my life than when I was sitting in my hotel room watching the Trailblazers play the Jazz and seeing Rudy Gobert swat a ball that bounced off the backboard what felt like 5 minutes ago, and then the refs being able to review it because they didn't even call it in the first place. I think that, if something is game-changing or, would completely...